Just a fortnight of air raids, bombardment and ground battles, rubble on the streets and packed hospitals. For most Palestinians, the Israeli campaign against Hamas is simply about staying alive amid the chaos.
Our house is in Bethlehem. There are explosions there from time to time. Our children are scared. We can't stay in the house.
This tiny slice of land is crammed with 1.5 million people. Gaza is considered the most densely populated spot on earth. Even targeted strikes here bring devastation to an entire area.
Israel's bombed everything from land and sea. They don't care if it's a mosque or not, or whether a person is old or young. They bomb everything. There's a total blockade on us, from air, sea, and land.
The UN warns civilian casualties are mounting at an alarming rate. It says at least a quarter of those killed were ordinary Palestinians. Israel insists it's not targeting civilians and accuses Hamas of using humans as shields by operating in densely populated areas.
While acting this military operation, we are trying to take all the necessary steps in order to avoid civil casualties, but unfortunately, since they hide among civilians, sometimes this can happen.
Aid workers say clean water, food and medicine are running low in Gaza.
The borders had been closed since November 4th, so at that time, before these attacks started, even when the borders did open for a day or half a day or a few hours, the amount of aid getting in was not even barely enough for one day, let alone enough to replenish the depleted stocks.
The UN has expressed concern about what it calls the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, yet Israel says no crisis exists.
The World Food Program has asked to stop sending supplies of food because the storages, the warehouses inside the Gaza Strip are filled with food which Hamas is not distributing to its civilians.
For those on the ground, the story repeats itself after every bombing. People lucky enough to survive the strikes have no other choice but to move to another location.
They bombed our homes. We can't do anything about it.
So far, Israel has ignored international calls for a ceasefire, saying it won't back down until peace and tranquility are achieved in southern Israeli towns. But with Hamas defiant, the havoc and death on the streets of Gaza looks set to continue for some time.